Do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's podcast time. Yeah, dig it? The Dynasty Podcast is brought to you by Jube's Family Restaurant. Family owned and operated since 2002. Jube's Family Restaurant's gourmet pizza and fresh food seafood is better than dirty, dirty sex. Get your ass to Jube's Family Restaurant and don't forget to tip your fucking waitress.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the assholes on the Dynasty tonight. That's right. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Dynasty tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like some kind of torture to have to watch the show. And now let's get things started. Why don't you get things started? It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, sexuational. This is what we call the Dynasty Podcast.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode number 10 of the Dynasty Podcast. Of course, coming to you from Tom Bergo is Trucking, Riverdale Studios. I am Commissioner Eric Costanza, and with me is Commissioner Apprentice Bubba Palucha.
Good morning, afternoon, and good night.
Bub, tell us what's so great about Jube's Family Restaurant.
The best thing about Juice Family Restaurant is their Reese's Pieces pancakes.
And Tom Bergo is Trucking, Bub?
The best part about them is the cute boy who works there, James Berkowitz.
I agree. Hey, Bub, the Dynasty 10 mid-season hangout just took place this past weekend.
It did?
It sure did, and I had
yes.
a wonderful time. How about yourself?
I had a joyous time. It was joyous.
It was great. Good to get everyone, almost everyone, there and watch the Pats and watch the games and just, converse and interact with everybody. We have a great league, great team, great members, great everything. Did you have any particular highlights at all that stood out to you now that we're, a few days out of the mid-season hangout?
I thought seeing everyone's reactions to Coach Heaney were pretty fun. Because I get to see those on a weekly basis.
Yeah, lucky you.
Yeah.
Lucky you,
So it was fun, and especially when Marvin Jones scored his first touchdown.
Yeah, how about when Megatron scored...
He had the 80-yard catch.
That 80-yard catch towards the end to make his yardage total go from like 280 to 320.
Oh, that one. I was talking about his first one that he ran the slant over the middle for 80 yards, and we're all sitting there going, no, but then everyone's going, yeah. And so everyone's going back and forth, and then he got tackled. But then he scored.
Right, of course he did. Chris is very funny, and he's very passionate about the Pats, which is great. We all are, but he was at least like right in my line of vision, like where the Pats game was. So I was like pretty much seeing his reaction with everything, which was great. And we actually had a couple of coaches obtain some coaching achievement points simply for just coming and hanging out at the midseason hangout. We actually have an achievement, which is if you attend a midseason hangout 3 years in a row. Then you get 2 achievement points. So we actually had John, Brandon, Matt, Phil, and then myself actually obtain these achievement points. We have a couple coaches who are up to possibly get that next year, like you, Bub.
Yes.
And then actually Brian, who's the only one who didn't come to the hangout. However, this particular achievement actually states that if you come to a midseason hangout and or league trip 3 years in a row, you get this achievement. So Brian, congratulations to you, because you also get this achievement for coming to the the league trip there in Buffalo earlier in the year. So good job, by all those coaches. And let's see, the next thing, Bub, I wanted to talk about was actually the league poll that actually I posted on the home league page, which is referring to kind of what we talked about last week, your villain status, if you will, and it's asking, is Bub the Dynasty 10 league villain? Short and sweet, yes or no. And it looks like, according to the 10 coaches thus far who have voted, it looks like we got ourselves a tie. 30% are saying that they are finding themselves wanting to slap Bub across the face more and more each day. And 30%, which is, again, tied for the most, say absolutely yes, Bub, fuck you, you are the league villain. But it is kind of close, and then 20% say Bub's too cute to be hated, and then 20% says there's another coach in the league that I hate more than Bub. But what do you think of those results there?
Yeah, pretty widespread, which, I don't really have much opinion on because everyone's a fucking douchebag anyway.
Oh, okay. Let's talk a little bit. I wanted to talk about some of our past interactive segments, a few things that have come up before we move forward with this show, Bob. As we know, last week we had the great Bill Green interview from FantasyDispute.com. I thought that was really good. Obviously, I thought it was very funny with what you talked about with him, with Hennygate, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. That was a good informative interview.
Yes.
I want to go out and say, because I'm a man of the people, Bob. And unlike you, who is, just a piece of shit and hated right now, throughout the league and throughout the world, I want to go ahead and say that if anybody out there in the Dynasty has a dispute or has some sort of spat or disagreement that involves me, then absolutely feel free to let me know, because I will go ahead and I will pay for the majority of a fantasy dispute to Bill Green, so we can get a neutral resolution. I will pay for $7.95 if you front the additional $7. That is my promise to each and every one of you out there. I just want to show to you that, hey, I've certainly made mistakes in the Dynasty. I haven't handled everything perfectly, and I will not handle everything perfectly going forward. So if you have any type of disagreement or dispute or anything that involves me, then as your commissioner, I will front the majority of the payment. Now, I do want to say that if we do that, Bill Green's resolution, Bub, isn't definitely going to be, what the resolution is. It certainly will factor in, majorly, I would say, but it's not definitely going to be what he says. Does that make sense? And do you agree?
I don't understand. I'm just kidding. I get it.
Okay. And then, but what do you think about that? You think I'm being too nice here, or?
No, I think you're trying to win back that perfect commissioner rating by
I never lost.
Paying the majority. Well, yeah, you keep saying this year you're not going to get it.
Oh well, I think I'm not going to get it. Do you think I'm going to get it?
I don't know.
To be honest with you, I think I deserve it, but I think there's.
And I think by coming out and saying that you're going to pay the majority of a dispute fee, I think you're trying to win that back, and that's very admirable.
I think that's part of it. Thank you, Bub. I think that's part of it, but to be honest with you, it's not the only reason why. I think it's the right thing for me to do, regardless of if I get a perfect 10 or not, which I don't think I will, but if I do, great. I'm getting all riled up now, Bob.
Yeah, I know. You're steaming right now.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention regarding actually 2 weeks ago, we had that Charter DirecTV competition. Which, Bub, I know that at the time last week you didn't have a chance to listen to. And
you yelled at me.
I yelled at you. I kicked you out. We had some choice words. But actually, something's come up which I wanted to mention. As you guys probably already know, the poor woman, Grace, from Charter, I may have been a little too hard on her because she didn't watch Back to the Future. I immediately terminated the competition and awarded the victory to DirecTV. You may remember that the first question, however, I asked was, what is the channel that the NFL Network is on? And Grace answered it. However, we had an individual who actually, quality controlled and checked to make sure what Grace provided us was correct. And we actually have ourselves an update. I just want to say this person posted to the Dynasty Facebook page this information, which I admittedly neglected to see until very recently. So maybe you guys may have already seen it.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Okay,
no.
Good. Do you care to guess about who this person is?
Coach Guard. No,
Good
Coach
guess.
Blanding.
Ooh, bad guess.
No.
I like the first guess better. Or did I? Either one. No, it was actually my mom.
Really?
Lisa Costanza.
Oh, what a doll.
And you know what? She has been a Charter customer for, I want to say, a decade, which is terrible, horrible. I feel bad. And So she knows what the correct NFL Network channel is. And she's actually calling bullshit on Grace, who provided the channel to us, and is saying that she was inaccurate, which actually makes the fact that I terminated that competition even more valid.
Oh, it validates everything you've done.
Thank you, Bubba. And I would like to go ahead and, Bub, let me know is my mom home, or is she over your house? Or
when I left, she was home, yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and get Lisa Costanza online. She has no idea that I'm calling. I promise you this.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi.
What are you doing?
Nothing. I just got done putting my stuff away and going to have a little something to eat.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to congratulate you because you're on the Dynasty Podcast, and Bub Palucha is here with us.
Hello.
Oh. Hi.
How's it going?
What's this going to be about, the charter thing?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
How did
You're
you
so
know?
smart.
How did you know? We wanted to go ahead and get your official. I know you posted on Facebook, and unfortunately I missed it. And so did Bub. So we figured we would make your voice heard because it was very good research by you. Can you let us?
It wasn't research. In fact, I was very surprised that no one else picked up on it. Immediately, I was literally, when I was listening to the podcast, talking to myself and screaming at Grace.
Fucking Grace. Fuck Grace. Because I was actually surprised we could understand Grace because she actually spoke, clearly and not with an Indian accent. But Mom, can you tell us what you I guess didn't research, but what you already knew and what you told us on Facebook?
I believe that I happened to mention that I am in the process of looking into changing from charter because my promotion, or whatever you want to call it, is done in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been really paying attention to other ways of getting cable, and I was really interested in your little comparison. So then when I listened to it and heard her immediately give the wrong, Grace from Minnesota, give the wrong channel number to the NFL network, I was like screaming at the TV.
Right.
That she gave the wrong channel number.
And as you probably heard, I didn't pick up on it because I don't have charter right now, but I went on with the competition and I ended up, ceasing and deleting and stopping the competition because of other things that she did.
Right.
Which some of our listeners said I was a little too hard on her. Some of our listeners said I should have continued to see what she would have done as far with the Back to the Future when that movie is on and whatnot, and continue to see where the competition would have went. Well, frig you all, because my mom just brought this shit to the table.
Yes.
Right, Bob?
She did.
Thank you, Mom.
And how would you be able to find a movie that you don't even seem to even recognize the title if you can't read off a card what a channel number is?
Exactly. And shouldn't every cable provider, customer service representative, shouldn't they have the cable lineup printed out on their desk, staring? And they should almost have it memorized. But even if they don't, they should have that right in front of them. How do you give that incorrect information? That is horrible.
Well, you know what? I believe they probably do, except that they don't know how to read it. But they do have, I am convinced that they do have cards on their desk that say, make sure you keep saying you're sorry to the customer. You're sorry, because that's their favorite word to say.
Mom, they're a bunch of fucking, pardon my French, but I'm going to say it, I'm sorry. They're a bunch of fucking assholes is what they are. Bub, say bye to my mom.
Bye. It was lovely speaking with you.
Well, we didn't get to speak, but yes, I got to vent again.
That's okay. Your voice is so lovely that it just doesn't matter.
Thank you so much. Yours is too.
Bye, Mom.
Bye.
Good Lord, Bub. Really?
I couldn't help myself.
The chemistry between you, I feel good,
it's
but I feel...
off the charts, right?
Damn it all to hell.
Right?
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Well, one other thing I want to talk about before we move on with this show, my fellow listeners, friends, colleagues, and rivals, and possibly gay partners. Bub, I actually happen to notice you have it up right in front of you. Can you actually read to our listeners rule number 31? of the rule book in the Dynasty spreadsheet.
Do you want me to read the whole thing?
It's not very long, so yes, it's one sentence.
Rule number 31, the trade response rule. If a coach is going to reject a trade offer, he must include some type of response back with the rejection. Failure to do so will result in a warning/violation.
Bub, first of all, thank you for reading that very nice and clearly. I'm spitballing here. I want to talk through something with you.
Sure.
Had a situation come up very recently. Coach X offered a trade to Coach Y on CBS. There were no texts, no emails, no nothing. It was literally just an official trade offer from Coach X to Coach Y. About 24 hours go by, maybe a little more, 25 maybe, whatever. And Coach Y officially rejects the trade offer on CBS without any comments, and did not send any email, any text, nothing. In this circumstance, which did happen, I will warn you that this has happened. What happens?
It's in the rule book.
We clearly have a rule, right, that
we do
governs
have a rule.
this.
You
just read it, right?
I'm gonna go on record and think and say I personally think this is kind of a weak rule.
Sure. However, that can be, or maybe should have already have been, but that could be addressed in the Dynasty board member meetings during the off season.
Correct.
What we can only do now is go by the rule that it currently constitutes, that we all signed on draft day.
It's a rule.
So, with that being said, granted it's a bit of a weak rule, which I agree with you, and we can address it if anyone wants us to. Maybe that you and I can address that. But so, in this circumstance, which did occur, this Coach Y, in this example, should be getting a warning. Okay. With that being said, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
I hope I wasn't too cryptic. I didn't want the coaches who were involved be part of.
I hope this isn't going where I think it's going.
Well, it's not you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not you.
Because
we did have a trade, and you submitted a comment.
Okay. Yes.
So thank you. For
that.
I
just want to make sure.
No, you.
I'll tell you what. I was about to just hit reject, and I remembered.
Okay.
I needed to say something.
Right. And you know what? Most of our rules, and not to put down this particular coach who I'm about to announce who it is, because it is probably just a silly little mistake, but most of our rules are kind of the common sense rule of thumb. Like this particular rule. I mean, you should provide some sort of comment. And Bub, tell us the reason, because I think you actually, or maybe it was Phil, who were a strong proponent of this rule that was implemented a couple of years ago. Was it you or was it Phil?
I don't remember. I mean, looking at it now, I just think it's if the Coach Y doesn't want to do the trade, I mean, I think it's courtesy to give a reason. But if he simply just is not interested, just hitting reject, I don't know.
Okay, so again,
I'm not a huge fan of it, but
and something we can address in the offseason if we want to change the rule. But again, the way it is right now, do you recall why this rule was implemented? I believe it was because a lot of coaches put time and effort into figuring out a valid, good, fair trade. And if they send out a trade and somebody just rejects it with no comment, it's like, okay, well, are they interested in another player, or do they not want this player at all? And then, like, should I counteroffer? Should I completely move forward and move? Anyway, it avoids that entire situation from happening from a simple little comment. Which that's kind of the genesis of why this rule was implemented, which I see the point of. Anyway, the coach that unfortunately is going to be obtaining a warning is actually Coach Zach Palucha.
Really?
He's not going to be happy. He's not going to be happy, but I hope he doesn't blame me, because we just talked through it, and I would think, to be honest with you, Bob, I talked to another board member earlier today about this, and he agrees with us. So I don't know. I think it sucks. I don't want to give him a warning. I don't want to, but we have to. Like, we have to obey by the rules. Like, somebody who does get a warning for this would get pissed if Zach didn't in this situation. We have to give him a warning here.
He's not going to be happy.
Right, but are we in this to make everybody happy?
No, of course not.
Okay, so it sucks, and I don't want to, but we have to give him a warning.
All right.
Do you agree?
It's a rule. It's a rule.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get on with this show, Bub. We're going to discuss Week 8. We're going to review Week 9. we are going to welcome on Coach Johnny C. of the Rapists, always an entertaining person to speak with. And as announced last week, we got the interactive segment here where we're going to welcome on WWE/WWF hardcore legend, former WWF champion of the world. He was a huge superstar during the Attitude Era of WWF, late 90s, early 2000s. Mick Foley, Mankind himself.
Mankind.
And a lot of you listeners out there, and rightfully so, has kind of asked me, hey, awesome that you got Mick Foley. I'm super impressed. Yet another great guest for you guys. But what's the correlation with him and fantasy football? And I kind of racked my brain a little bit. I guess the only thing I can think of is, in a weird way, WWE or WWF is almost the first real fantasy sport out there. That kind of, in a way, right? We're stretching, I know, but we all know it's not real. It's sports entertainment. And that's the only kind of thing I can think of.
I just thought of one.
Oh, sure.
His name is Mankind,
Mm-hmm.
and we are Mankind, and Mankind plays fantasy football.
Yes, I like that better, Bob. I like that better. That makes a lot more sense. And
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And you may be, if you on your cell phone listening or on your computer listening, if you want to take a look now throughout the duration of the show, a lot of you may already know that John and I and Will participated a little bit too, believe it or not. We dabbled in a prior life before the Dynasty in some wrestling events, some wrestling shows, and actually Johnny C, who we have on the show later, he played Mankind back in the day. So we have some pictures up that will play throughout the duration of the show, which you can enjoy, which show this. Anyway, Bub, we're in store for a great show. Anything to add?
No.
Okay, thank you, Bubba. Thank you now.
Now let's take a look into last week's results. Who kicked some ass? Who sucked?
So, Bub, as we said last week, this past week was a little bit more important just because we were all together. Well, almost all of us were together. So, it was just had a little bit more to it.
A little meaning behind it.
More meaning to it, to look into the face of your opponent and see them smile or frown. Let's go ahead and go through the games and talk about what happened. The game of the week, of course, was the Rockdalian Senators defeating VIP on Swole. A big game for Coach Will, 152-92. He goes up to 4-4. VIP drops down to 4-4. Bub, it was basically the Calvin Johnson and Marvin Jones show.
Yeah, that was the Marvin Jones. The Bengals played a 4. So after we left Jillian's,
Right.
Marvin Jones scored in the first, 4 minutes or so, and then.
And I think after you left, before everyone else.
Oh no, I'm
left,
sorry. He scored when we were at Jillian's.
Yeah, I was gonna say
his
okay.
first touch was at Jillian's.
Yeah, because Will had a little seizure.
You're right.
And I was like, "Are you okay?" I thought like he was having a stroke or something. And
Yeah, and then we got back to Heaney's house, and he scored again. And then he was actually downstairs, and Marvin Jones scored again. And we were just like, you need to come back up here real fast.
right.
And then he scored a 4th touchdown.
Right.
Just ridiculous.
I mean, if somebody said after Calvin Johnson's ridiculous 329 receiving yard, 36-point game, hey, Will's going to have another receiver, match that. Marvin Jones literally matched that and had 36 points of his own.
I remember at Jillian's before the game started, Coach Heaney saying, why is Marvin Jones in there? Who's Marvin Jones?
I can't believe Will played Marvin Jones. I don't know if he's a genius or an idiot, but it worked out for him, the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Craziness. And it seems like there's something quirky or something kind of random always happens on the mid-season hangout. I guess nothing really happened last year, but the year before was the year you put up your 201 points. So this is the third time that Will led the league in points. Again, 13th time overall, third in the standings with that. And I mentioned this last week, but Chris has now played 25 games here in the league, and this past game was only the 4th time out of those 25 games he has not scored 100 points. Chris is certainly still very much in the thick of things, only a game behind in the North Riverdale division. And, we talk a lot about Peril and Pig Newtons and their very easy schedule thus far. And if there's somebody that should be the most pissed, it's probably Chris, because he's actually allowing, I think, the most points in the league this so far. I think he's allowing an average of 115 points per game, which actually correlates to about 1,736 points would be scored against him for the entire season if that were to continue, and that would actually set a record. Bub, care to take a guess as to who holds the current record of most points given up in the Dynasty's history? Just a shot in the dark.
I hope it. Probably you, because you won't have any record.
Because I always talk about the records
but
that happens with me. That's the only time I talk about records.
I'm going to guess John.
Whoa, nice guess. Did you look at my show notes here?
No, I had seen that before on the spreadsheet.
Nice. Well, good job there. And more proof that I don't only bring up records for me. Very, very bad little perception there that is very inaccurate. Anyway, yes, John of the D6 Level 5 Sex Offenders. He led up 1,654 points. The next game was the Hong Kong Cavaliers defeating the Riverdale Scoopers 125 to 101. Now undefeated still with a perfect record, going to 8-0. I dropped down to 5-3 now in a tie in the North Riverdale division. Let's see what happened here, Bub.
Jordy Nelson just matched Aaron Rodgers. That's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, it was a smart job by Whiffen.
Well, you're gonna play Jordy Nelson.
Well, you're gonna play Jordy Nelson, right? But going and getting Boykin as well in a trade to kind of offset some of the points that Rodgers, which is exactly what happened. So tip of the hat to Coach Whiffen. Tip of the hat. And I know we're kind of maybe looking ahead by saying this here, but Matt has Zach. He's playing Handy Quacks next week. This upcoming week, so almost a bye week for him. And but then in the following week, week 10, he goes up against the Senators, so it's setting up for quite a battle there in a couple weeks from now. I'm sure we'll talk about it before that happens.
Right.
But, you gonna say something?
No, I retract my statement.
You retract what you were thinking.
Yep.
Okay. And then the Pig Newtons, they came into Handy Quacks and defeated them as we all thought would happen, 96 to 61. Pig Newtons goes to 6-2. Zach drops down to 1-7, and
I'm gonna
go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
I'm gonna venture, and I could be completely off, but maybe you know off the top of your head.
Okay.
That this is the first time that a team has won when their quarterback scored negative.
That's a great. I don't know.
Honestly,
we can probably not right now. We can probably look it up if it's happened this season. Fortunately, there's no way of going back to seeing if it's ever happened in the history of the Dynasty, but it's crazy. Yeah, Vic put up -1, yet Phil still gets the victory. Is there maybe something admirable, Bub, about Phil having a knack for winning this season?
no, he's just getting lucky.
Okay. The next game was the Rapists defeating Soul Glow 147 to 80. John was really trying to get that most points scored, and unfortunately came up a little bit short. Still a great victory there for John. Up to 5-3, now tied here again for the division. Soul Glow drops down to 3-5 in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. Things aren't looking good there for Brian. And John is really just saying fuck the injury bug. He's saying fuck it. He's getting guys injured left and right, but he doesn't care. He's still doing what he does.
I just realized this. Now he only picked him up for a week, but Brandon Gibson is on the IR.
Brandon Gibson, he picks up Brandon Gibson for 1 week. Granted, he actually had a touchdown, so he did get him 6 points, which I think John said that's all he was actually satisfied with that, which I would be too. But Jesus Christ, he played for the Rapists for a quarter, and he snips his ACL out for the year. Crazy stuff. Drew Brees is just going nuts. He led all players this past week in scoring. That's the third time Brees has done that this year, which is more than anyone, more than Peyton, more than anybody. And then the next game, the Boston Loggers, they beat Brutal Deluxe. Ben goes up to 4-4. He won 97 to 59. Ben really needed that game, so Ben's really still in the thick of it. Still, there's 4 teams in the North that are a game apart from each other. So
I'm only 3 out, so.
Yeah, and we'll get to you crazy bastard. Brutal drops down to 1-7. In his last 3 games, he's scored 57, 58, and then 59 points. Bub, if
I see a pattern.
If I'm doing the math here, I'm thinking he will score 58 and a half points next week.
You can't score partial points in this league, Eric.
That is true. Yes. But Brutal is playing Bub, yourself,
Yes.
and we'll go over this, but he's playing you this upcoming week, and then the next week after that he plays Brian. So this could be Brandon's chance to.
He's a buyer.
Or I was gonna say to try to get out of the pizza buying, but that too. And then the last game, the Yellow Peril, those pesky bastards, 86 points, and they get the win. They defeat you, Bubba, to 86-79. Goes up to 5-3. You drop down to 2-6, and I mean we've been saying it all year. Again, another just a measly output by Peril, but he gets the victory, Bub. I think you had an interesting stat regarding Jay Young.
Yeah, I was looking after Thursday night when Newton scored 31 on his bench. Peril is now, the 8th week? He's 1-5 picking the correct quarterback, disregarding the 2 bye weeks that he didn't have a choice. So he's 1 out of 6, so 1 in 5.
Wow.
At picking the correct quarterback each week.
Wow. And I mean, but nonetheless, he's in the midst of a 4-game winning streak, which actually ties his franchise high for longest winning streak. And in these 4 games he's won, these past 4 games, he's only averaging 89 points. But he's getting the victory, Bub.
Pathetic.
And is it pathetic? Is it frustrating? How do you feel about this?
It's pathetic. It's just pure pathetic.
Now, let's take a look into the future with next week's matchups.
Hey, Bub. Before we get into next week's matchups, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah, shoot. 7 of spades.
No. Is there? I know that it's a little bit of a frustrating season for you, just because of you're not maybe have the best teams this year, right? So far, right? Now, you think you still get a shot at the playoffs, and that's cute.
Oh
but,
yeah, absolutely.
Is there a little bit of enjoyment though? Because I was in your shoes a couple years ago, and I found it to be somewhat enjoyable to kind of almost test your coaching ability and see like how good you can do with like free agents, waiver guys, and see what you can do from that aspect. Are you having fun like with that part of it?
I said this on my coach's interview. I think, with all things considered, I'm doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I agree with you.
So, I know,
Are you
but
enjoying
I'm
it?
I think it's fun. I'm trolling the waiver wire and trolling the free agent list, and I've started Chris Ogbanaya for the last 3 weeks, and Harry Douglas was a big pickup, and I picked up Boykin and traded away for. If you told me that I was gonna get a second round starting running back for Jarrett Boykin,
Right,
I
like
would
the week
have
before.
said, okay, who's Jarrett Boykin?
Yeah.
And who's gonna be dumb enough to trade for him?
But it turned out it really wasn't a dumb trade.
No,
but
no,
at the time
which
you would
sucks.
think that, sure. All right, well we're officially past the halfway point and now into the second half of the season. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Week 9 games here, Bub. And as usual, feel free to stop me, interrupt me, caress me, jerk me, hold me at any
I don't want
point.
to do that.
None of the above. None of them.
No.
Okay. The 8-0 Hong Kong Cavs going up against Handy Quacks. 1-7 again. Pretty much a bye week here for the Hong Kong Cavs. Well, that's why they play the games. You never know. But I'm pretty sure he's going to destroy him.
Yeah.
The Rapists 5-3 up against the 6-2 Pig Newtons. Big game. Big game. We see if Pig Newtons can put up some points, and maybe he won't have to, as he has been doing and winning. But Rapists is Drew Brees and the Jimmy Graham show, and we'll talk to John more later about this matchup.
Yes.
Bub. The 4-4 VIP on Swole going up against the 3-5 Soul Glow. And then the 4-4 Boston Loggers against the 4-4 Senators. That's a big game, Bub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a big game.
It is a big game.
Okay, all right.
It is a big game.
And then the 2-6 Bubba Gum Shrimp against Brutal Deluxe 1-7. Not necessarily the toilet bowl I thought it was going to be, but it's not really, because Zach is below you now. But still a game you probably want to try to win, obviously, to try to.
Oh, it's big. If I win that, I'm pretty much guaranteed not going to buy the pizza.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Pretty much. Because assuming Zach loses this week, I'll be 2 games up.
Two
on
games
him.
up, sure.
That's pretty big. You
But-
think he's going to win?
Well, how many?
2 or
there's
3
what,
games?
like 6 weeks left, 7.
Yeah.
still.
I don't think he's going to win that many games.
Yeah.
His team's pretty bad.
But he could tie you, and he has, as of right now, he has more points.
Yeah,
than you, so we'll see. And then the last game, myself, the Riverdale Scoopers, 5-3, going into Yellow Peril, also at 5-3. Again, a big game there for both of our teams. Bub, a game of the week here for Week 9.
I am going to not pick the Rapists and the Pig Newtons, even though that is a big game. I think both of them are already sitting good enough at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Loggers against the Senators.
You like picking, and that's fine.
Well, huge implications.
Absolutely,
Both 4-4. The loser is really hurting. The winner's going to put themselves a step ahead of everyone else, as opposed to the Rapists and the Pig Newtons. If let's say Phil loses, he's still 6-3.
Right.
He's still sitting okay.
Right.
So I think the game with the biggest implications is Loggers and
Senators. And Bub, you picked Will to go all the way to the Dynasty Bowl this year.
I did.
You still feeling good about that?
I feel great about that at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, we shall see the game of the week, the Boston Loggers up against the Rockdalian Senators.
Now it is time. Fucking right, it's time. So grab your balls and let's go. Coach's interview. Here we fucking go.
And now, on the Juve's Family Restaurant, Coach's Guest Hotline, he is a Dynasty board member. He is a Power Rankings ranker. He is the Dynasty Graphics Analyst. He is the Dynasty 8 champion. He once participated in one hell of a ladder match. He once tried to eat the Dynasty Championship trophy. He is 100% Riverdalian. He is one of the original members of the Dynasty, celebrating his 10th season. He is coach of the 5-3 Rapists. He is Coach Johnny C. Coach, thank you for joining us here on the show.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. A very busy schedule to keep, and I appreciate your gratitude for me taking time out of my schedule.
Well, you're very welcome. I'd like to go ahead and start off by asking you a kind of funny question, and then we'll get a little bit into the, your team and the league and whatnot. Coach, as you know, we have one of your former heroes here on this very show, in Mick Foley, Mankind himself. I've already explained here to our listeners that, about our past life with our wrestling shows and whatnot. Can you maybe tell us your favorite moment that you had all time of Mick Foley?
Favorite Mick Foley moment would be, it's probably everyone's actually. It's got to be the Hell in a Cell match against the Taker. I'll never forget watching that for the first time and just being just jaw-droppingly shocked when the Taker threw him off the top of the cell into the table. Just absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. The goddamn Taker. He threw him off the goddamn Hell in the Cell, and I think didn't he shatter many bones, teeth, and it was crazy. One of the best Mick Foley moments, certainly of all time. Maybe we'll ask him about that later. Now you're sitting at 5-3. You're in the top 3 in passing, receiving, and defense. You're in a tie in the North Riverdale Division lead right now with myself, although you have the most points, so technically you are in the lead. Drew Brees, to be honest with you, Johnny C., he would be my vote for the Dynasty MVP if we had to vote right now. And also guys like Frank Gore, Wes Welker, Jimmy Graham, they're all doing great for you. You have been hit with the injury bug, though. How has that been, managing, throughout the injuries that have been occurring on your team?
Well, it's just classic fantasy, you know that that's going to happen going into a season. It just seemed like it kind of, for me, it all happened all at once. So, Julio Jones got hurt, so then I made the trade to get Reggie Wayne, and then he got hurt the first week that he was on my team. Honestly, I just laughed at it because, there's nothing, it's out of your control, and you just gotta, if you still have a solid core, which obviously I do, then, you'll still be okay.
Coach, obviously this past weekend we all hung out at Jillian's. It was
Who's speaking, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Coach Bub Palucha.
Yeah, but introduce yourself, Bubba.
This is Coach Bub Palucha. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
John, what do you think about? I'm interrupting. What do you think about Bub? Last week you said that he doesn't care about anyone in this league. He doesn't care about friendships or camaraderie or anything.
I think it's cute. I think it's cute that he thinks he's the league villain, and he's just so wrong. There really isn't a league villain right now, and if there were, it's definitely not Bub. Sorry to tell you, Bub, you're not the league villain. I love you to bits, and you're never going to be a villain. Sorry.
Yeah, that's weird. Your mom told me the same thing.
Oh.
At Jillian's, this past week, Coach. How big? And I'm looking for inches. How big was your boner when Graham scored his second touchdown?
It was so weird. The boner actually, it sprouted other boners off the side, and it was kind of like the multiverse. You know how the universe sprouts out different universes, and it keeps going and going. That happened, and it was so rock hard. It was such a turgid phallus that it started. You could see the shine on the side because the skin was so tight. I can't give you inches. I can't give you inches. Sorry.
Okay.
That's only for the VIP fans.
You made up for it anyway with your graphic explanation, and thank you for that. Coach, you are an incredible guitarist. Do you think that in any way translates into your fantasy coaching?
No.
I stumped you almost, though, didn't I? Wouldn't think it would. I just wanted to let you know that you're a very, very good guitarist, and let all of our listeners know.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds like Coach Costanza, Eric Costanza, wants to suck your multiverse penis.
Oh yeah, because I'm into the incest, Bob.
It's called the multi-cock.
Okay, good.
And you shall worship it.
I'm glad we clear that up. Back to your team, Coach. Like Coach Eric Costanza said, kind of led by Drew Brees this year with Graham and Wes Welker, and they were on some pretty good NFL teams. Are you worried at all about those players sitting in maybe week 16 and 17?
Nope, not worried. Again, I know that's a thing that happens, but I wasn't worried when I won the championship, and it worked out. So you can't, honestly, in my opinion, when you're drafting a team, you try to draft the best team possible with the best players, and that's a risk that that's a risk that you have to take. Some teams don't. It happens to work out for you, great. But what am I going to do? Not keep Drew Brees because he may sit, during the Dynasty Bowl if I make it? That's ridiculous.
Well, okay, you're right. And speaking of your D8 championship, there are some rumblings throughout the pasture that your championship was
the pasture.
Yes, I live in a pasture, and there are rumblings throughout the village.
You a hobbit?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you very much. I didn't want everyone to know. But those people, my friends, are saying that your championship might have been a one-year wonder. Okay. Well, don't you think it's a little early for your quote-unquote hobbit friends to be saying that? It's entirely possible, but we don't know that for sure yet. Well, I think even if I don't even win the championship, or let's say I don't even make it into the Dynasty Bowl, I still think it's even still early for that. Well, so when do you think we will know, Coach? Give me a time frame. You want time frame? Yeah, I want time in years, not eons. I don't know. As of right now, I still have draft picks next year, so I don't think as of right now, I don't think next year is going to be a rebuilding year for me like it was last
question because you seem flustered by Bub's questions, and I would be too because he's obviously trying to ruffle your feathers, John, which I don't appreciate.
No, I appreciate your concern, Eric.
I'm
but
very concerned.
I have no problem whatsoever with the question that Bub just asked.
Well, I do.
At all. Well, that's fine, but I still love Bubba, and there's no way I'm ever going to not like him, regardless of how much he wants that to happen.
I like him.
However, with this next question, if you wouldn't mind, I would actually appreciate it if Bubba asked the question. If Bubba started it by saying the first 3 words of the question, and then Eric, if you don't mind continuing the question seamlessly and flawlessly.
That we can make that happen.
All right, go now. Just don't practice it. Just do it. Go.
You're one of
the founding fathers of the Dynasty here, celebrating their 10th season in the league. You've seen a lot, John. You've seen a lot of trials, tribulations, ups and downs of the Dynasty, and where we're at now, which is obviously a wonderful, glorious place. My question, however, is if you do win the Dynasty Championship this season, even though you may actually have the most losses out of every coach in Era 2 in the Dynasty, do you feel that you should be the Era 2 Hall of Fame inductee? And I will tell you right now, I think that you should. That's only if you win the title this year.
That's a good question. I guess, yeah, if I win it this year, winning 2 champions, I guess that would make sense. But I don't have a deep philosophical answer for you, and I don't really. I don't do this for the Hall of Fame guys. I just do it because I love it.
Okay. All right. Well, I got a follow-up question for you. If you don't win this year, I know it may be dependent on who does, but I know you don't have the stats in front of you or anything like that, but who do you kind of, without really giving it much thought, who do you think maybe should be thought about as possibly making it into the Era 2 Hall of Fame?
I don't know. Let's say Whiffen.
I was thinking him.
Okay, so we're gonna. I was actually curious of your serious answer, but that's okay. We'll come back to that. When the zombie apocalypse happens, John, because it's going to happen. We're all fans of The Walking Dead, and if you're not, you're an idiot. If you don't watch The Walking Dead, then you are losing out in fun. You obviously have no imagination, no creativity, and you're a fucking idiot. Bob, you're raising your hand. What?
I don't watch The Walking Dead.
You are a fucking idiot, and I feel bad for you. I'm sorry that that's wrong, that you have that fault of yours.
Sorry.
You should be sorry. And you know what? The good news is, Bub, it's in your power to fix your fault. Okay? So let's try to work on that, my friend. Anyway, John, what characters from The Walking Dead do you maybe think Bub and I most would be if the actual zombie apocalypse were to occur?
I think Bub would be Carl, and
Is he super awesome?
Carl is not super awesome. He's actually the child, although he's maybe a young teen now.
Scooper, I think you would probably be Sophia.
Be Sophia. Yeah, because my personality just mirrors a middle-aged. Actually, that's not the mother. That's the girl, right? That got lost and turned, right? Is that Sophia?
Correct.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's take to the Twitter machine, Bob. As we all know, each week I post to the Twitter machine, who the coach is going to be on the show, and I reach out for fans and coaches and everyone to ask questions to the coach, which is obviously John this week. And Bob, we actually get 2 questions submitted. So Bob, why don't you take the first one? I'll take the second.
Is that okay with you, John, if I read the first question?
Yeah, but Eric, you started, but Bob's going to interrupt, okay?
Sure. I won't tell him when I'm going to interrupt either.
Yeah, just do it.
Okay.
Yep.
So the first question actually comes from Jensen from Parts Unknown. and he tweets, Coach Johnny C., do you regret...
Chickening out like Marty McFly when he didn't car race Needles in Back to the Future by not accepting the bet with Coach Eric before the season on who would finish better in the standings?
See what the question was because it's so confusing.
Are you a chicken for not accepting the bet with Coach Eric on who was going to finish higher in the standings?
No, of course not.
Of course
not.
Of course you're not.
Okay.
No, I am not a chicken for not accepting a bet.
Maybe not confident in your own team then?
No, that's not the case either.
You're just going to say no with no back up to it, no content proving why you feel this way.
Oh, as I've told you, Eric, back when you tried to get me to enter it.
Oh, hello, John? John, are you there? John?
John? Mark
C?
twice if you're in Milwaukee.
All right. Well, I think we've lost Coach Johnny C. Anyway, Bub, let's go ahead and move forward with the show. We are excited to go ahead and get Mick Foley here on the line.
Mankind.
Big interview here for us. I do want to let everybody know that the only way that we were actually really able to get Mick Foley was to, I guess, fib a little bit, right, Bob?
Mom always said a little while, I never hurt no one.
And we had to tell him that we were going to promote his comedy show, which we don't really give a fuck about. I don't think you guys really give a fuck about. So we're gonna, with the magic of editing power, we did talk to him a little bit about his show, but we're gonna go ahead and remove that from the recording. However, there may be a few references that are spoken about that may, kind of touch upon that. So I just want everybody to know that's what that was. So let's do this, Bub.
Now, the Dynasty Podcast brings you an interactive and likely ridiculous segment, what's borderline on actual legit media. Buckle up your fucking seatbelts for the Dynasty Podcast interactive segment.
Now, Mick, I'm absolutely honored to be speaking with you. I'm a big fan of yours, and we do have a few questions regarding wrestling and your life as well, if that's okay. I guess the first one is you're known for being a hardcore legend and enduring a lot of pain while wrestling in the ring. You've wrestled all around the world and in pretty much every type of match possible. What match kind of stands out to you that I guess you're most proud of, if you could maybe pick one out of the many matches you've been in?
Oh, man, that's a good question for a Q&A, and you want me to divulge that on your show for free? That would be a good question. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you an answer, but not a funny one. So if you want funny, you're going to have to pay for it, or get a complimentary ticket in case you wouldn't pay for it. But you know what? I think if I had to pick one, I'd say the match that Terry and there's an N in this name, just in case you guys. I don't think you have to. Stand up to FCC fines and regulations.
Nope.
But
we're all set.
Terry Funk with an N in it, and I engaged in just something that was just ridiculously brutal. In January of 1995, I believe in the little city of Hangzhou, not to be confused with the men's magazine Hancho, but Hangzhou. You guys are trying not to leave, trying to pretend you don't know the magazine I'm talking about. I believe you do.
I think Bob knows.
And we just did some things that, were probably against the law in most countries, and we did them to ourselves willingly because we were looking to build that little promotion.
All right, now, Mick, did you have a one favorite wrestler, maybe wrestled against multiple times, or just one favorite opponent?
Oh, so what you guys are saying is we're done talking about the show, and now it's Badger Mick with wrestling question time.
No,
right, okay.
I mean, hey.
Let me see how I can redirect this back to the show. I believe there was this one important opponent in my career, and there was a match in particular that I had grown tired of talking about until the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, at which time Terry Funk, with an N, who inducted me in a really, wonderful induction speech, because it was funny, it was poignant, and it was brief, which is really important. Like, if I'm ever asked to induct anybody, I'm going to try to learn from that lesson. But he shed some light on that infamous Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker that made me rethink the entire match, and took a match that I was just flat out tired of talking about and made it seem all new again. So I guess the answer to that is, without The Undertaker, I wouldn't have been standing on that stage at Madison Square Garden this year at the Hall of Fame induction, and I certainly wouldn't be standing on a stage right there in Manchester, Connecticut, which is really next to Hartford, or in East Providence, which is right next to Providence, the next night, or the sold-out comedy club in Boston the night after that. Really, right. The Undertaker matches put me on the map.
Right, the goddamn Taker. One of your biggest and longest feuds, again during that WWE Attitude Era, as I'm sure you're aware, was with The Rock. Not only did you guys have incredible and epic matches against each other, but you also kind of played off each other perfectly regarding some of your interviews and your threats towards one another and just the storyline. Kind of looking back, what do you think it was about the Mankind versus Rock feud which made it just so huge and successful?
Well, it was that real great battle of opposites. I think a couple guys had said that if you weren't a WWE fan at that time, you turn on the TV and someone asked you to guess who the good guy was and who the bad guy was, you would be stunned. No, that guy who looks like a superhero, he's the bad guy. And that guy with the leather mask and the unruly hair, with the big, he's a good guy. There was just, you can't really, you can put names on paper, but you can't predict chemistry. Mm-hmm. You either have it or you don't. And The Rock and I had it as opponents. And I understood my role, too, which was to get him ready for bigger and better things. And serious Mania matches with Stone Cold. Mm-hmm. And so it worked out that we laid down this great foundation so that when I came out with the speech saying the people want, Mankind to be The Rock's partner, the people need Mankind to be The Rock's partner, like everyone just got it simultaneously. And it's one of those things that connected in a way that so few things do, because honestly, on a weekly basis, WWE fans digest an awful lot. So many things happen in the course of 3 hours that sometimes, 6 months down the road, you really can't remember who was wrestling who and who said what and who did what to whom. But in the case of the Rock and Sock connection, people still talk about this short-lived team. And they're talking about it. I mean, that was 1999. That was 14 years ago. And then when I say, "Oh yeah, we were your favorite team," you name one match we had, and they go, "Humana," like, because it wasn't the matches; it was the way people feel, which was, excited and exuberant.
Oh, absolutely. I still remember the. Well, this is when you weren't the together, but when you guys were against each other. Still remember the match you guys had during halftime of the Super Bowl in an empty arena. That was,
yeah. Now that won't go down as a
maybe not one of the most memorable.
The tough match. It was memorable, but I wouldn't put that up there in our top 10. And I think there's a reason we haven't gone that route again. Yeah. That's a tough one to pull off.
Right. Now, Vince McMahon has quite the reputation. I personally think he's a genius, but you obviously know him a lot better than I do. I'm not sure how much you can, want to divulge here, but just in general, how is he in real life and behind the scenes and whatnot?
I'm pretty much not going to divulge anything.
Okay.
That's a you must come to the show type of thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've been really honest about my relationship with Mr. McMahon over the years in my books. I mean, it's shocking that they published the Hardcore Diaries, which was not at all. I mean, it was positive in many ways, but clearly there was a lot of frustration going on at the time, and I think that explains, the respect that they gave me and the wide berth creatively they were willing to give me. I'd be interested to see what Mr. McMahon thinks about my show, because I do have a couple stories, dealing with specifically one dealing with my talk with him about what I would like to accomplish at the Hall of Fame action. My guess is that he would get a kick out of it and think it was extremely funny, but he might well go, I don't want Mick Foley to tell that story ever again.
Right. Absolutely. Again, he is Mick Foley. He is Mick Foley, WWE legend. We're honored to talk to you, Mick, today, and thank you for being on the Dynasty Podcast. We really loved having you.
I appreciate it, but I'm going to put you guys on the spot, okay? So I'm going to have my first ever comprehensive charts and graphs exit survey, asking where people found out about the show, and yours is going to be one of the options. And if nobody marks that in the box, I will come after you physically in the audience.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah. To be honest with you, if I get a mandible claw from you, I would actually be honored, Mick.
All right, deal. All right, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mick. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
That was this week's Dynasty Podcast interactive segment.
Well, I am going to get right on the Twitter machine right now and see how many people I can try to get to go to his show, so
Please,
he doesn't come kill us.
Please do that, Bub, because
no one's going.
Nobody is
Well,
going.
I'm not going anyway.
I'm not going. No one planned on going. We even cut out many portions of that interview via magic editing tools we have to purposely disregard anything about his show.
Maybe I do want him to find out so he can give me the mandible claw.
Well, that's what I was saying to him. I think I legitimately would be honored to obtain a mandible claw
and have
from
his
him.
gross, dirty, greasy fingers in my mouth.
Yeah, he is kind of a disgusting
He's
man,
a dirtball.
but a good guy.
Awesome. Love him. Love that guy.
So, Bub, this is going to wrap up episode number 10 here of the Dynasty Podcast. I, of course, would like to thank my mom.
I would as well.
Lisa
Thank you so
Costanza.
much for last night, Lisa.
That was uncalled for, but it's kind of interesting at the same time, Bub. Very interesting that you said that there.
What?
Well, I'm her son, and usually kind of don't say those types of things in front of
Oh, I mean, pretty soon you're gonna be, my stepson.
Papa. Thanks to Coach Johnny C. And thanks for Mick Foley, of course. Thanks to all of our diehard listeners. And let's go ahead and keep the feedback coming. We really appreciate it.
Always remember that if you ever have an idea or a suggestion on how to improve the Dynasty, please let Commissioner Scooper or I know.
This is Commissioner Scooper.
And this is Bub Palucha.
And we're going to be back next week for episode number 11, when we're going to have Coach Brian Tavolieri of Soul Glow on the coach's interview, Bub. And on the interactive segment, zipper down your fly and whip out your cocks right now. If you have one. And because we're going to have mega porn superstar, adult film superstar, former superstar, former Charlie Sheen vixen, Brie Olson. Sexy Brie Olson. Do your homework. Check out some porn websites. She's a blonde bombshell. She's got huge tits. She likes anything up the ass.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk to her more about the next show. It's definitely going to be R-rated. See you next week. Over and out.
Listen here, dirtbags. This is Dynasty Ethics Manager, Coach William Q. DeYoung of your Rockdalian Senators. Like it or not, this train wreck of an episode of the Dynasty Podcast was sponsored by Jude's Family Restaurant. I'm not going to sugarcoat this shit. Jude's Family Restaurant is freaking incredible, and you are a dink if you don't become a regular customer like I have.